间所有的相遇，都是久别重逢。
Yeah. Welcome, family, to Omniversity Conscious Science, Temple of Omniversal Wisdom. I'm gonna name this one here 144,000 War Preparation, Part 1. It's a series of spiritual teachings that will help you advance in your spiritual journey. This will be the key to unlock the powers of your soul and shed the egoic mask. This will give you an even playing field within the spiritual battle that we face. 144,000, stand up. I am he who have returned.
Amonakai Shihan Al.
Prophecy speaks. Peace, family, peace. So today, we're going to talk about the 9, the Ennead, the divine resurrection forces. Now, before we get into the 9, we're going to do a quick summary of the previous video. So previously, we talked about the old dode, who are symbolic of the pre-existing forces that existed before primary creation. The old dode as the first primordial intelligences that had to solve the first existential problem. And that problem was the state and conditions of the void, right? Because the void was in total chaos and darkness and, all the elements that existed before primary creation. And these chaotic forces had to be put in order and brung from out of an unconscious state into a conscious state. So from the unseen to the seen, from the invisible to the visible, from the darkness to the light, right? And the old dode did that by situating ions. You understand? But when I'm saying ions, I'm talking about ions in their pre-existing state before they was made manifest into the visible. Though the primordial electric light has always existed, it was in a state of inert inactivity, right? So it wanted to be expressed. So the light wanted to express itself, so it had to be seen. The old dode achieved this by situating the pre-existing ions into order, which led to a burst of energy. This burst of energy will be the first nuclear fusion reaction that ultimately led to the first structured forms to emerge in the creation of the 9 Ennead, right? So let's move on to the 9. And we're going to go deep today. We're going to get straight into it about what the 9 is, truly is. Right? So we're going to start here. The Ennead of Heliopolis is a group of 9 deities central to Egyptian mythology, representing creation and cosmic order. Their mythological significance stems from their roles in the creation story, originating from the city of Heliopolis. Members and roles. The first, Atum, the primordial creator god, who emerged from the chaotic waters of Nun. He self-generated and created Shu and Tefnut, symbolizing the beginning of existence. 2. Shu, god of air, tasked with separating the sky from the earth, ensuring space for life. 3. Tefnut, goddess of moisture, associated with water and balance in creation. 4. Geb, god of earth, representing fertility and the physical world. 5. Nut, goddess of the sky, protector of the cosmos and mother to Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. right? Number 6, Osiris, god of the afterlife, resurrection, and agricultural, symbolizing renewal. 7, Isis, goddess of magic, healing, and motherhood, a key figure in resurrection myths. 8, Set, god of chaos and storms, often depicted as a disruptive force in mythology. Nephthys, goddess of mourning and protection, associated with death and transition. Mythological significance. The Ennead explains the creation process, where Atum generates life from chaos, Shu and Tefnut gives rise to Gab and Nut, whose union produces Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, the divine family, embodying cosmic balance and conflict. Occasionally, Horus is added as a 10th member in later traditions. Right? So that's just the start of who the Ennead is, but let's go deeper into this. So we're going to read about Atum. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Atum, the self-created creator god, played a central role in the formation of the first souls in the universe. Atum's creation process. Self-creation, Atum emerged from the primordial waters of chaos, known as the Nun, and created himself atop the primeval mound, Ben Ben, symbolizing the first solid ground in existence. Creation of Shu and Tefnut. Atum generated the first divine beings, Shu, air, and Tefnut, moisture, through acts of spitting or masturbation. These deities represented essential elements for life and cosmic order. Now, with that word masturbation, we're going to break that down later because, the elites done twisted that word up. But we're talking about in spiritual terms. And I'm going to break down what the word actually means because we got to break the spell of English over our minds. So I'm going to break that word down, but let's continue. Symbolism of souls. In early myths, Atum was believed to lift the souls of deceased kings to the heavens, connecting his creative power with the concept of eternal life and spiritual ascension. So understand that right there. Number 4, cosmic order. Shu and Tefnut later produced Gab, earth, and Nut, sky, forming a lineage that gave rise to Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. This divine family established the framework for life and order in Egyptian cosmology. Understand that? So we see right here, this is literally the beginning of genealogy. The word gene stemming from the word generation or generating, the generative force, which is Atum, the primordial creator god who self-existed, who eventually created Shu and Tefnut and the rest of the Ennead, which led to the first family lineages. So let's move on. Let's break down this word masturbation. If we break down this phrase metaphorically, it could symbolize humanity's quest for mastery over fundamental forces, energies, and processes in the universe. Here's how we can think about it. Mastery over fundamental forces. Ion represents charged particles, building blocks of energy and matter. Philosophically, mastering ions could symbolize humanity's desire to control or overstand the smallest components of existence. This mastery reflects power, the ability to harness energy for creation or destruction, electricity, magnetism. You understand? So this is what power is. Everybody say they want their superpowers. Power is the ability to harness energy for creation or destruction, electricity and magnetism. I'm going to go more deeper into that word later too, but let's continue. Knowledge. Overstanding the universe at its most granular level, down to atoms and subatomic particles. You understand? So we have to understand the basics first before we can have superpowers. A lot of people still believe in this magical shit like powers is just going to come out the sky. That's the same shit as Christianity. You understand? We have to have a certain level of knowledge and understanding. You understand? At a subatomic level. So we can even begin to harness our power. You understand? We got to harness intelligence first. Let's continue. Harmony, balancing positive and negative charges, symbolizing dualities like good versus evil, light versus dark, to achieve equilibrium. In this sense, mastering bait ions can metaphorically represent the pursuit of enlightenment through overstanding and controlling the forces that govern reality. So overstand that. Two, the role of bait in philosophical interpretation. The word bait can be interpreted in multiple ways as a bait to reduce or lessen something. Philosophically, this could mean reducing chaos or entropy in the universe by mastering its fundamental components. As bait, to lure or attract something. Here it could symbolize enticing knowledge or power, drawing closer to universal truths. As a playful term, it might represent the act of engaging with fundamental forces, creatively or intuitively. Combining these interpretations, mastering bait ions can symbolize humanity's effort to either reduce chaos or attract wisdom through understanding the interplay of forces at the ionic level. You understand that? Let's continue. 3. Duality and balance. Ions inherently represent duality, positive charges, cations, and negative charges, anions. Philosophically, this mirrors many dualities in life: light versus dark, creation versus destruction, order versus chaos, masculine versus feminine. To master bait ions could mean achieving balance between these opposing forces, a state of equilibrium that transcends conflict and leads to harmony. This idea aligns with ancient philosophies like Taoism, yin and yang, and even modern physics concepts like symmetry in nature. 4. The human connection. If we extend this metaphor to human existence, right, to the physical existence, the literal act, masturbation, could be seen as a process of self exploration and self mastery, understanding one's own body and mind. Mastering ions could represent humanity's broader journey towards self awareness, self control, and mastery over internal and external energies. In this sense, mastering bait ions becomes a metaphor for personal growth, self discovery, and the pursuit of higher consciousness. Cosmic implications. At a cosmic level, ions are everywhere. Stars generate energy through ionized gases, plasma. The Earth's magnetic field interacts with solar wind, charged particles. Life itself depends on ionic processes like nerve signaling. Philosophically, mastering ions could symbolize humanity's ability to align itself with cosmic forces to overstand our place in the universe and perhaps even influence it in a profound way, in profound ways. So this is what masturbation truly means, because when we think of masturbation today, people only think of one thing, and I ain't even gotta say it, you know. So we really have to be masturbating on a spiritual level. You understand what I'm saying? You want to be harnessing as much spiritual and sexual energy as you can because you are a star and you want to generate and recharge yourself. You understand? That's how you charge yourself and gain power and become superpower. You understand? So let's continue. We're going to go back to a Atom. Philosophical insights, unity and completeness. Atom's name means the complete one, signifying wholeness within chaos. His ability to self-create without external influence represents the philosophical idea of existence arising from within itself, a monad, or a singularity that initiates creation. 2. Duality in creation. Atom's dual union with noon reflects both destructive and constructive forces. Before creation, Atom existed diffused in noon, embodying potential without focus. His transformation into an active creator symbolizes the transition from inert non-existence to dynamic genesis. 3. Cyclical nature. Atom is tied to cycles of creation and destruction. He not only creates life but promises eventual dissolution back into primordial waters, emphasizing the interconnectedness of beginnings and endings. Occult symbolism. 1. Self-creation is divine power. You understand? So self-creation is a divine power. Atom's acts creating Shu, air, and Tefnut, moisture through masturbation or union with his shadow reflect occult ideas of generating reality through will and intent. 2. Solar connections. As associated with the evening sun, Atum represents renewal and transformation, mirroring occult views of solar cycles as metaphors for spiritual enlightenment and rebirth. 3. Serpentine form. In texts like the Book of the Dead, Atum appears as a snake at the end of time, symbolizing eternal renewal and wisdom in occult traditions. Atum's narratives bridges metaphysical concepts of unity, transformation, and cyclical coexistence, making him a cornerstone in Egyptian mythology's philosophical framework. Right, so overstand, we're going to keep on going deep into this. The spiritual and occult meaning of the 9 divine principles is deeply rooted in the symbolism of the number 9 as a representation of completion, cosmic order, and spiritual evolution. Across various traditions, 9 is seen as embodying the culmination of divine attributes, universal harmony, and the transformative journey towards enlightenment. So understand that. The number 9 often symbolizes divine completeness, marking the end of one cycle and the readiness for a new beginning. In occult metaphysics, these principles are seen as guiding forces for spiritual growth and alignment with higher consciousness. Common interpretations include love, the foundation of all divine principles, representing unconditional compassion and unity with all beings. Unity, recognition of interconnectedness, fostering harmony between individuals and the universe. Peace, inner tranquility that radiates outwards, promoting universal balance. Justice, the principle of fairness and accountability, balancing mercy with truth. Knowledge, pursuit of wisdom and understanding, both within oneself and in the cosmos. Power, the ability to manifest change responsibly in alignment with the divine will. Will, focused determination to act in accordance with spiritual goals. Glory, reflection of divine beauty and majesty in creation. Perfection, continuous striving for alignment with divine ideals. These principles collectively represent steps on the path to spiritual enlightenment and are often associated with personal transformation. 2. Occult symbolism of 9. In occult traditions, 9 is considered a sacred number tied to universal laws and hidden truths. Numerological properties. The number 9 always reduces back to itself. 9 times 2 equals 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9, symbolizing self-replication, eternal cycles, and indestructibility. So understand that indestructibility. It represents the culmination of spiritual lessons before renewal or rebirth. Cosmic order. In Hermeticism and other mystical systems, 9 embodies universal harmony and the balance between physical, emotional, and spiritual realms. It reflects the principle of as above, so below, connecting microcosm to macrocosm, right? The individual to the universe. Number 3, 9 divine principles in mythology. The concept of 9 divine principles appears across various spiritual traditions. Ancient Egypt, Ennead. The Ennead represents 9 deities who embody creation structure. Atum, the creator, giving rise to 8 others. This symbolizes cosmic order emerging from primordial chaos. Hinduism and Buddhism. The number 9 symbolizes completeness through cycles. Navarachi honors 9 forms of Durga. It also represents stages on the path to enlightenment. 9 spokes on the wheel of Dharma. So it's 9 spokes on the wheel of Dharma. And Dharma is following the way of true alignment, being in true alignment with nature, the true path of nature. Norse mythology. 9 worlds connected by Yggdrasil represents interconnected realms of existence. Odin's 9-day ordeal on Yggdrasil reflects transformation through sacrifice. So understand that. Psychological and metaphysical interpretation. From a psychological and metaphysical perspective, right? So from within you, how this is happening within you. The 9 principles can be seen as archetypes or energies that guide personal transformation. For example, love heals emotional wounds. Knowledge illuminates hidden truths within the self. Justice balances inner conflicts. These principles align with Jungian individuation, the process of integrating fragmented aspects of the psyche into wholeness, right? So that's his point right there, is to literally become whole again. Healing and regenerating the fragmented aspects of yourself, right? So this is an eternal resurrection in order to maintain your structural integrity, and that's of mind, body, and soul, right? Of your form. So you will want to maintain your structural integrity, and you do that by aligning with these 9 principles. So this is the precursor to war. And what we fight today is a spiritual war, but war is literally maintaining your structural integrity. So you will want to defend yourself at all costs from fragmentation and separation from the ultimate source of nature. You understand? So let's continue. We're going to go deep into this. We're going to learn the basics of warfare. And war is also synonymous with the word warp, as in time warp. You understand? Distortions of time. So understand that the non-divine principles can be understood as resurrection forces in both spiritual and metaphysical contexts, as they symbolize the transformative processes of restoring life, balance, and divine order. Resurrection is restoration. According to the divine principle, resurrection is not about physical revival, but a spiritual process of recreation, restoring humanity to its original state of perfection with nature. This aligns with the 9 divine principles, which represent universal truths guiding spiritual rebirth and transformation. The principles such as love, unity, knowledge, and perfection are forces that resurrect the fallen human spirit by reconnecting it to divine truth, enabling growth from chaos to harmony. 2. Resurrection forces in creation. The number 9 symbolizes completion and cycles of renewal. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the Ennead group of 9 deities represents divine order emerging from primordial chaos. Similarly, the 9 principles act as resurrection forces that restore balance and perfection to life. Resurrection involves stages of growth, formation, growth, perfection, mirroring the transformative journey guided by these principles. 3. Spiritual meaning. Resurrection forces operate on multiple levels. Personal transformation. The principles help individuals overcome spiritual death caused by separation from nature and guide them towards enlightenment. Collective renewal. They serve as universal energies that resurrect humanity's connection to divine purpose and cosmic order. So understand that. Right. So in conclusion, the 9 divine principles embodies resurrection forces by facilitating spiritual restoration and recreation. They guide individuals and humanity through transformative stages towards perfection and alignment with divine will, reflecting their role in renewing life and cosmic harmony. So now let's go into the divine will, right? Or atom, right? So let's continue. The 9 resurrection forces as manifestations of the divine will. The divine will is the eternal, all-encompassing creative force of nature. So in short, the divine will can be seen as sexual energy, okay? It is the source of all life and existence. The 9 resurrection forces can be understood as emanations or aspects of this divine will, representing its transformative and life-giving power in action. Since these forces are inseparable from the divine will, they are the means by which life is transmitted. They are not separate entities, but rather divine energies or principles that carry out the will's purpose, right? So it carries out the higher purpose of nature, the higher will's purpose. In many spiritual traditions, life is infused into primordial man by a direct act of divine power. In Genesis, nature breathes the breath of life into Adam, animating him. In Kabbalah, Adam Kadmon, primordial man, is formed as a divine archetype, emanating directly from Ein Sof, the infinite. In Egyptian mythology, creation begins when divine forces like Atum or Ra bring order and life out of chaotic waters. If we interpret the nine resurrection forces as expressions of this divine creative act, they can be seen as the very energies that infuse primordial man with vitality, consciousness, and spiritual potential. The jolt of life is essentially the activation of these forces within, right? So overstand that. And we're going to stop it right here. This opens up portal gateways to higher frequencies of thought, higher dimensional omniversal realizations. Journey as we go deeper and deeper within our true nature, unlocking and unveiling its hidden wisdom, knowledge, and potential.